As we step into a new week, here's a question to set the tone. Are you protecting what you have or expanding what's possible? When Satya Nadella took over as CEO for Microsoft, Microsoft was stuck. They had siloed teams, slowed innovation, and a fading edge. Instead of new products, he started with mindset. By shifting from a know-it-all culture to a learn-it-all one, Nadella reignited curiosity, collaboration, and experimentation. That mindset shift transformed Microsoft from a stagnating giant into a $3 trillion innovation leader. The lesson here, your mindset defines your company's ceiling. Let's dive into how culture sparked a $3 trillion comeback. Satya Nadella became CEO of Microsoft and the company was in trouble. Stock was sliding, innovation had absolutely slowed, and the culture had turned toxic. Teams competed instead of collaborated, and performance reviews pitted colleagues against each other. It was a company full of know-it-alls in a world that was changing faster than they could keep up. Nadella didn't start with strategy or new products. He started with mindset. Nadella focused on empathy, curiosity, and collaboration. He encouraged leaders to listen, learn, and share. As a result, hierarchies flattened. Meetings became learning spaces rather than report outs. Microsoft started rewarding experimentation instead of punishing mistakes. This cultural reset unlocked innovation across the business. The same teams that once competed began co-creating, most famously between Azure, LinkedIn, and Office 365 to deliver integrated, customer-centered solutions. The culture change didn't happen overnight. Nadella and his leadership team took consistent, tangible steps. They removed the stack ranking system that fostered competition and replaced it with real-time feedback and recognition. They built psychological safety, allowing people to fail fast, learn, and iterate without fear. They encouraged field visits for leaders and product managers to understand customers firsthand. They launched global hackathons to break silos and spark collaboration across teams. They modeled empathy and curiosity at the top, proving culture starts with leadership behavior. Even Nadella's now famous phrase, "Look for the rose petals in a field of shit," became a reminder that optimism fuels innovation. As Microsoft's internal culture evolved, so did its market performance. The company pivoted from being a Windows-focused software firm to a cloud-first, AI-driven powerhouse. Under Nadella's leadership, Microsoft's market value grew from around $300 billion in 2014 to over $3 trillion by 2024. By embracing a growth mindset, Microsoft unlocked new capabilities in AI, machine learning, and cloud computing, industries demanding adaptive and creative collaboration. So here's what we learned from the Microsoft case study. Culture transformation isn't a one-time initiative. It's a living system. Not every employee adopted that mindset overnight, but Nadella's consistency made the change durable. As of 2025, Microsoft continues to lead in AI and cloud innovation, and employees report higher engagement, collaboration, and pride in their work. And there's more lessons here for modern leaders. First, mindset drives culture, and culture drives innovation. Second, empathy isn't soft, it's strategic. It fuels understanding and breakthrough ideas. Third, psychological safety creates creative momentum. When people feel safe to experiment, they invent and innovate faster. So, what can we take away from this Microsoft case study? Well, Microsoft's comeback didn't hinge on a new product, did it? It began with a mindset shift. See, when leaders model curiosity, empathy, and continuous learning, innovation becomes inevitable. In this week's blog, we're going to dive deeper into how the world's best leaders and teams cultivate growth mindset and why it's the ultimate competitive advantage. Every business wants to grow, to expand, innovate, and stay ahead of the curve. But growth doesn't begin with a strategy document or a new plan. It actually begins with a mindset shift. So let's face it, the thinking that gets you back on track isn't the same thinking that will take you to the next level. The mindset that brings control won't create momentum. To scale sustainably, leaders must learn to shift from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, not just personally, but culturally as well. When things start to wobble, profits tighten, the team loses focus, culture drifts, most leaders do what feels safest. They double down on control. And it's natural, isn't it? It's natural for us as human beings to do that. But this is the fixed mindset at play. See, the fixed mindset is protective. It's about keeping us safe. It's about stability, certainty, and correction. Leaders who have this fixed mindset tend to seek order, predictability, and reassurance. They focus on efficiency and fixing what's broken. They rely on existing playbooks and proven methods. They centralize decisions to regain control. Now, there's nothing wrong with this. In fact, it's essential when your business needs to stabilize. But if you stay in this mindset too long, you'll end up protecting the past instead of creating the future. Once your foundations are solid, leadership demands a really different mindset, one built around possibility, leverage, and curiosity. The growth mindset doesn't ask what's wrong, it asks what's next. Here's what it looks like in action. Number 1, from problem solving to possibility seeking. Leaders with a fixed mindset look at what needs fixing, but leaders with a growth mindset look for what's possible. They focus less on closing gaps and more on creating opportunities, less on patching and more on pioneering. Number 2, from control to empowerment. In the fixed mindset, leaders hold tightly to the reins. In the growth mindset, they hand them over with clarity, trust, and intent. They don't just delegate tasks, they delegate thinking. They create environments where others can take ownership, innovate, and thrive. Number 3, from incremental to exponential thinking. A fixed mindset asks, how can we improve by 10%? A growth mindset asks, what would it take to 10x this? It's the difference between playing safe and reimagining what's possible. It's where continuous improvement gives way to transformation. Number 4, from effort to leverage. In the fixed mindset, effort equals progress, working harder to get more. In the growth mindset, progress comes from leverage, multiplying impact through people, systems, and technology. You don't scale by adding more effort, you scale by amplifying what works. Number 5, from certainty to curiosity. Leaders with a fixed mindset crave predictability. Leaders with a growth mindset embrace the unknown, not recklessly, but with curiosity. They test, learn, and adapt. They know that the faster you learn, the faster you grow. Number 6, from owner to orchestrator. As your business grows, your role changes. A fixed mindset keeps you in the business. A growth mindset elevates you above it. You stop rowing and you start steering. You become the orchestrator of alignment, energy, and culture, the one setting the tempo and direction. You can't scale a business with a fixed mindset. If you try, you'll just build a bigger version of what already exists, not a better one. To truly grow, you must lead with vision, curiosity, and leverage. You must replace control with trust, certainty with experimentation, fear with opportunity. So if you're feeling ready for the next chapter, ask yourself, am I protecting what I have or expanding what's possible? Growth doesn't happen because of the tools you use. It happens because of how you think. A growth mindset fuels innovation by shifting from control to empowerment, creating space for others to take ownership and innovate. Incremental to exponential. Ask, what would it take to 10x this? Certainty to curiosity. Replace fear of the unknown with exploration and learning. This shift creates the cultural foundation for agility, creativity, and momentum, the same forces behind Microsoft resurgence. Are you ready to reimagine your business with this kind of clarity? I love this case study on Microsoft because it captures two things I believe in wholeheartedly. The first is the power of culture. No surprises there if you already know me. When Satya Nadella became CEO, he didn't start with structure, strategy, or sweeping product changes. He started with culture. Let's put that in perspective. This is Microsoft, one of the largest organizations on the planet, and yet his number one focus, culture. He could have chosen to optimize operations or overhaul technology, but instead he asked, what is the one thing only I can influence that will move the biggest needle? And he chose culture. That decision alone transformed Microsoft from a company that was at risk of fading into irrelevance to one that's now leading the pack. It took conviction, courage, and a deep understanding of what truly drives performance. The second thing this story shows us is how culture sets the foundation for everything else. Nadella recognized that the company's culture, and therefore its mindset, had become rigid. He knew that if he could shift how people thought, everything else would follow. That's the essence of culture transformation. At Leading Culture, this is exactly the work we do, helping leadership teams shift the collective mindset so that new behaviors, language, and energy can take root. That's how transformation becomes visible and measurable. So here's something worth reflecting on. Is your culture and your team's mindset where it needs to be to take you where you want to go next? Just like goals and markets evolve, mindset evolves too. Culture isn't a fixed asset, although I am still working on my campaign to get that on the balance sheet. Culture is a living system that must grow, flex, and expand alongside your business. I'm going to finish with a quote from Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft. He says, "Our industry does not respect tradition. It only respects innovation."